I am mad. I am just so sick and tired of all of the numerous cases that just keep coming out about my former denomination, the Assemblies of God. Hi, I am former Fundy. Welcome to my channel if you are new. If you're a return viewer, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And if you aren't subscribed, please consider doing so. This is going to be a much shorter video on my Pastors and Pray series following the NBC expose of the same name about abuse that is coming out about my former denomination, the Assemblies of God. And what has me really riled up about this article is that it gives me a point of comparison of what the Assemblies of God in the US could have done or could be doing that they are still refusing to do. So about a decade ago, the Assemblies of God in Australia had a very, very similar reckoning that the Assemblies of God in the US is having now, with just tons of abuse cases coming to light and coming forward. And guess what? Guess what the Assemblies of God Australia did? They made reforms. They established new policies that required mandatory reporting of suspected, abuse to minors, and reference checks for all staff and volunteers, which is something I thought was required here, but from some of the stories we've covered before, like the Royal Rangers one, it clearly wasn't happening because there have been Royal Rangers leaders where the pastors knew that these people were on offender lists and still let them around young boys. So okay, and then Australia also placed restrictions on who could have the title pastor to make sure that people who have been convicted of these types of abuses cannot hold those types of positions where they're in those positions of power where they can abuse it. Now, the Assemblies of God in the US has not done any of this. While there is leadership in the Assemblies of God in the US who recommends that churches have these types of policies to protect children, they decide to be more hands-off. The General Council of the Assemblies of God in the US does not mandate or require that all of the churches within the United States comply with these rules because the churches are self-governing. But I think there are some things like this that are completely appropriate to enforce. It seems like a no-brainer to me. The Assemblies of God, for the most part, is meant to run very democratically, and there are district councils and general councils where pastors will go and vote and suggest policy changes, and things are passed by a certain majority of vote. I can't remember the percentage that's required off the top of my head. Australia, at one of their general councils in 2015, unanimously voted to require that all of the Assemblies of God churches in Australia adopt policies that would protect children. So it wasn't even the majority voted for this. They unanimously voted for this. And isn't that what it should be? Shouldn't everybody be on the same page to protect children? But no, in the US, there were votes about this at General Council in 2019 and 2021. In both cases, when it came to a vote, church leaders objected, so these amendments did not pass, so nothing changed. And I think that's absolutely disgusting. Why is it so clear to the leadership in the Australia Assemblies of God that this was a necessary move and change, and so unclear to the leadership in the US? What is happening here in the US that protecting children is not a priority? Something that adds even more to my disgust over this is something that General Secretary Donna Barrett said after the vote in 2021. If you've watched some of my other videos, you will know just how disappointed I am with Donna Barrett, especially the way that she acts like she's doing her best. for, getting justice for victims, and then gives very weak apologies with no power behind it.
I am sad and concerned from all of us for the victims who have suffered due to the sexual misconduct.
When it came to the vote that went up for making these changes to make sure that children were protected, here is a paraphrase of what Donna Barrett said, according to this NBC News article. She said the measure would play right into the hands of plaintiffs and attorneys and expose the church to greater liability if victims sued. And so there was an opportunity to make sure children were protected, but taking that step would acknowledge, I guess, they weren't doing it before and play into the hands of plaintiffs and attorneys. That's just so disgusting, because once again, we're seeing that the upper leadership of the Assemblies of God in the US cares more about their organization's reputation and managing that than it cares about doing things that would actually protect people and keep them safe. And to me, I feel like they're making the absolute wrong choice, because if they had made these reforms years ago, if they had taken allegations in the past seriously when they happened, instead of brushing them under the rug, just hoping that they would go away, I would have so much more respect for them as an organization than I do now. Because now, to me, their reputation is a reputation of an organization that cares more about their image than about the people, and is untrustworthy. I can't believe anything that they say, because they have a pattern now of just brushing things under the rug and hoping that it will just go away. Okay, my cat was aggressively rubbing his head against the microphone at this part, and I tried to say it again, but I didn't say it again properly after he had left, so you're gonna get a little editing Liz dub over here, as well as some bonus information. So at the end of this article from NBC News, there's a quote from a former Assemblies of God minister. His name is R. Ryan Beatty, and he is quoted to have said about this decision, "If the Assemblies of God falters, people go to hell," Beatty said. "That's what they believe, and they will sacrifice some members to protect that mission." The footage you'll see after this is over is my reaction to that statement, but I wanted to add, the day that I recorded this video, R. Ryan Beatty actually also published that same day an article to the Journal of Applied Communication Research about the past Chi Alpha abuse that we covered. The article is called Wolf Among the Lambs, the Case of Chi Alpha Sexual Abuse, and I will have that article linked in the description of this video below. Now back to the video. Because the Assemblies of God is saving souls, and if their reputation is ruined, then they'll save less souls and those people will go to hell. Don't you think being embroiled in all of these scandals might have a negative effect as well? Will you maybe lose people from the Assemblies of God? Will you maybe have people lose their faith when they lose their trust in you and your hypocritical decisions to not protect people? And so while I am glad that the Assemblies of God in Australia made changes and did things to address these problems a decade ago, it just makes me even more frustrated and upset with the Assemblies of God leadership in the US, because now we have a very clear example of reform and positive change being possible. And we can see now very clearly that the US leadership was just like, nah, we don't care about protecting children. That's what this communicates. Having it up for a vote 2 times and it getting struck down in the US, while when it was brought up as a vote in Australia, it was unanimous. That speaks volumes to me, and it really makes me question the heart and the beliefs of the people making those votes. Where do you have to be as a leader and as a pastor to care more about organizational reputation than about the safety of children. But that's all I have for this installment of Pastors and Pray. We are once again caught up, so this will be the last video for now until there is any update on one of the previous cases we've covered in Pastors and Pray, or if there are new allegations or new charges that come up or are brought to light. But with that, I hope you have a wonderful day and an awesome week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Stop bumping into the mic.